Kadosh, Erev Tov, Masechet Ketubot Daf Elmaleh Amud Aleph, 41a1. Says the Mishnah, Haomer, Pititi et bito shel ploni, meshalem boshet ugam al pi atzmo, ve'em meshalem knas. You remember that modeh b'knas is patur. If somebody comes and he admits to a penalty, he doesn't pay the penalty. If you remember, we kept on mentioning it. That somebody goes to the police station and he comes and he says, "Listen, he ran a red light." So they're going to say, "Okay, fine, kol hakavod, you told us, but we can't really do anything to you." So if they have cameras, that's something else. But if not, modeh b'knas is patur. So somebody comes and he says, Pititi abito shel ploni. He comes into bed and he said he seduced the daughter of Mr. So-and-so. No, Pititi. He comes and he seduced her. So, Mishalem, right? The Gemara is going to say that it's honest. 1 second. Yeah? I'm translating the words of the Mishnah, right? The Gemara is going to say it's honest. So one more time. So the Mishnah says, if somebody comes and he says that he seduced Mrs. Ploni, right, Mrs. the daughter of Mr. Ploni, Meshalem boshet ugam, he has to pay him boshet ugam. Why? Because that's chiyuv mamon, it's money, monetary. But the knas is a penalty. Then Meshalem knas, because we just said, modeh beknas is patur. Haomer ganavti, somebody that he comes and he says that he stole, Meshalem keren al pi atzmo, he has to pay back the principal, which means the value of the object. But he does not pay back the double, because the double is a knas, and arba v'chamisha, and the 4 and 5 times the amount for a chamor and a short and all these things. Hemit shoriyet ploni. Imagine somebody comes to the Bedin and he says his ox killed someone, or his ox, right? Or his ox killed the ox of someone else. He has to pay himself. Hemit shoriyet ploni. If he says that his ox killed the servant of somebody, he does not have to pay for himself. This is a general rule. If you're going to pay more than what you damaged, you don't pay al pi atzmo. Why? Because that's a knas. Meaning, if you're going to pay exactly the amount, that's not a penalty. You're paying the principal. You're paying the principal. You're obligated to pay. If it's going to be a knas means above that which you did. So therefore, a knas you don't pay al pi atzmo. The Mishnah just said the general rule was that anything that you're going to pay more, so therefore he's not going to be meshalem al pi atzmo. Says the Gemara, velitni anasti. Why don't we also learn anasti bito shel ploni? Why is it only written pititi bito shel ploni? So says the Gemara, lo mi baya kama. What does that mean? You didn't need to say it, which means that Tana did not need to say the mifate because it's a chidush gadol yoter, right? That means, sorry, the Tana did say mifate because it's a bigger chidush. So therefore, we didn't have to teach honest. Why? Lo mi baya. By the way, Rashi said the exact opposite of what you said. I apologize, Mordechai, but I have to say it because you already said it online. So therefore, when the Mishnah said pititi abito shel ploni, Rashi says the Gemara is going to explain why didn't we learn anasti, but it is pititi. The Gemara is going to say why didn't we learn anasti? Because you don't need to say anasti, right? No, but it was the exact opposite. Rashi says the exact opposite. Rashi says why didn't we learn anasti? זה לא שפיטיטי זה אנסטי, פיטיטי זה פיטיטי. למה לא צריך להגיד אנסטי? ולא צריך להגיד את זה. זה פשוט אנסטי. סוס זה גמרא, לא מבעיה כמה, לא מבעיה, one second, לא מבעיה אנסטי ולא כפגים לה, he says 1 second, אנסטי, there's no pgam, right? So obviously there's not going to be a pgam, right? Obviously it's not going to be the same halacha. The Meshalem boshet ugam al pi atzmo, that he's going to pay the boshet ugam al pi atzmo. So he comes and he says, aval pititi, right? But he says pititi. He comes and he says this, but pititi. He comes and he says pititi. The kapagim la that he actually made up. He made. Right? But here with pititi, that she was pagamla, ema lo Meshalem al pi atzmo. You're going to say that what? That he says that at the end of the day, he's not going to be Meshalem al pi atzmo. Kamashmalan comes to teach you that even if he said pititi, he's going to have to pay the boshet gam al pi atzmo. So says the Gemara, matzitin delo ki haitana. So our Mishnah is not like this Tana. The time we learned to write Yehuda Shimon Yehuda Shimon says Shimon Yehuda the name of Rabbi Shimon. Af boshet gam eno Meshalem al pi atzmo. Also boshet gam is not going to pay al pi atzmo. Lo kolemenu sheivkom bito shel ploni. Why? Because he says he doesn't have the power to come and to be motzi laz on the daughter of somebody and say that she just went and she just had relations with him willingly. So because of that, I would have thought to say that a person will not pay the boshet the bugam. Why? Because we shouldn't believe him. Kamashmalan that he is. Elmaleh Rav Papa Abaye, so says Rav Papa Abaye, Nichala ledida. I understand that she's going to be maskima. What's halacha? What happens if she says yes, it's true? She had relations willingly with this guy. What's going to happen?
Willingly.
Right? Willingly. So says Gemara, no. Maybe it's not good for the father. Maybe the father doesn't want. So what happens if the father wanted it? That means he didn't care. He was maskim that his daughter went. So what's halacha? Maybe it's not good for the entire family. It's not only just it's the entire family. What happens if it's good for the entire family? Says the Gemara, it's impossible that you don't have one family member, wherever it is, that they don't want it. You understand? I mean, there's always going to be one family member that does not want this type of a busha v'cherpa, as they say. Okay? Next. Okay? Somebody that he comes and he says ganavti, that he stole, he has to pay the principal. Itman, it was stated, pal ganiska, right? What does that mean? Chetzi nezek, that means half of the damages that a person pays for a short time is going to be, Rav Papa says, pal ganiska is mamona, and Rav Huna bar Yeshua says, pal ganiska knasa, which means it is. When a person as animal comes and he damages, so you have to pay for the first 3 times chetzi nezek, half the damages.
3 times?
The first 3 times. After that, 3 times. After the 3 times, you become a muad. A muad is a habituous gore, and then you have to pay nezek shalem. Okay? So he comes and he says now like this. He comes and he says, what's going to happen in such a case, right? So therefore, what's going to happen in such a case that you have to pay chetzi nezek? What is this chetzi nezek? Is this chetzi nezek mamona, money, or is it going to be knasa, knas? So the Papa says, palganiska mamona. Palganiska is money. Why? Because he holds stam shvarim lav b'cheskat shimur kaimi. Because the majority of the shvarim, they're not b'cheskat shimur, which means a shor is not watched. You know what a bull is? A bull, he's not watched. You have to watch over the bull. And therefore, uvedinu really be'emet, you should have paid the entire thing. You should have paid the entire amount of damage. Rachmano, the Torah was lenient on you. The Torah was lenient. Dakati lo yaed Torah, because he's still not a muad. And therefore, that's why he comes and he says, really be'emet, it's considered mamona, money. Rachmana, right? Dakati lo yaed Torah. Rav Huna bar Yeshua Amar Rav Yeshua says, pal ganiska is a knas. It's a knas. Why? Kasavar stam shvarim b'cheskat shimur kaimi. He says stam shvarim are considered watched on their own, and therefore, even if you didn't watch it, you don't suspect they're going to come and damage. Uvedinu lo shem klal. Really, be'emet, you shouldn't have paid at all. But the Torah gave you a knas. Rachmanu the Torah say keicha dinin tere le Torah, so you watch over your animal. Okay. So therefore, again, one more time, chetzi nezek is a machloket, whether it's going to be mamona or knasa, whether it's going to be money or a knas. Says the Gemara, right? Siman, hizik ma ve'emit klal. One more time, that's a siman. Hemit, hizik, ma ve'emit klal. Today we learned in the Mishnah, there's a Mishnah Baba Kama, hanizak ve'amazik betashlumin. Right? The nizak and mazik they actually go in the payments. What does that mean? Bishlema, what does that mean now that they're going to become partners in the payments? Well, what are we talking about now? Right? That means both of them lose out. What does that mean? I understand palganiska mamona, that if you're going to tell me it's mamon, I know the shayach nizak, but that's why the nizak is shayach, because he has to pay half of the damages that happened to him. Right? But if you're going to tell me palganiska knasa, says 1 second, if he's not taking any of the money from himself, why is he bitashlumin? If you tell me that it's mamon, money, so listen carefully. What happened with money? The guy's ox gored another ox. Now what happens is that really be'emet, he only has to pay for half of it. So if he only has to pay for half of it, the damagee, the one that got damaged, also is losing money. So it makes sense. They're both partners in the money. But if you're going to tell me now that it's a knas, the guy didn't have to pay a penny. And then what happened? And then what happened is that if the guy does not have to pay a penny, so therefore what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here is that if he doesn't have to pay, so then why is he losing? Why he's taking something for himself that he wasn't even going to take. So says the Gemara, lo nitzecha, what are we dealing with? Right? Lo nitzecha la livchat nevelat. We're talking about that even with the chetzi nezek that he came and he took, right? He comes and he says, is going to accept that sometimes they've said he's not going to take the entire half. What does that mean? If you right now have the ox died from the negicha, he died from the goring. So the nevela, the carcass, still stays in the possession of the damagee. The mazik, right? Right, that's what he says. And a mazik is obligated to come and take care of the carcass. Or rather, he pays half of the money, and then that's it. So therefore, if it went down, right, what does that mean? So now the mazik is only going to pay half of the damages during the time of the death. And the depreciation of the value of the nevela, the nizak loses out. So says the Gemara, pacha nevela. We already learned this. Tanina, we already learned this. Tashumei nezek. What is tashumei nezek? Melamed she'be'alim metaplim nevela. We learn from here that the be'alim are going to come and they're going to take care of the carcass. So says the Gemara, chada betam echad muad. No, one of them is by a short tam, and one of them is a short muad. One of them is by a habitual scorer and another habitual scorer. We need both of them. If it was only teaching us about the short tam, because he wasn't designated to become a gorer. Aval muad but a muad, it's a habitual gorer. Elmaleh would say no, and therefore he has to take the depreciation value of the carcass. Muad, and if it only told us the muad, by the muad, you have to eat you have to pay the entire amount. Aval tam, you don't have to pay the entire amount. Elmaleh would say no. Therefore you need both cases. Tashema, we come and bring another proof. Ma ben tam and muad. What's the difference between a tam and muad? Shatam eshalem chetzi nezek bigufo. A tam is only going to pay chetzi nezek from the shora mazik only, and the muad is going to pay nezek shalem from the best, from the best of the best, the creme de la creme, as they say. Velo ktani, and we didn't learn shatam eno meshalem al pi atzmo, muad meshalem al pi atzmo. So the tam is not going to be meshalem al pi atzmo, and the muad is going to be meshalem al pi atzmo. So says the Gemara, Tana v'shir. What are you talking about? Because sometimes they leave things over. What does it mean to leave things over? Sometimes you don't mention everything which is supposed to be mentioned. So my shir, so what did he leave over? My shir de shir. Says shayir chetzi kofer. What is chetzi kofer? The difference between a short tam never pays even chetzi kofer when he kills a human being. But a short muad, he has to pay kofer shalem, which means that if right now he comes and he kills a human being, he has to pay, right, the full amount of the value. Right? But by a tam, he doesn't. So imishum chetzi kofer, if it's only going to be chetzi kofer, lav shiura, that's not leaving anything out. Right? Memaleh from ubet, 41b. Hamani, who is this? Yosef Galilehi. This is Rabbi Yosef Galilehi. Right? Why? Because tam does pay chetzi kofer according to Rabbi Yosef Galilehi. Okay, so Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. If right now his short killed someone, or his short killed by the short of ploni, he has to pay al pi atzmo. My level, we're not talking about a tam, that a tam killed and he has to pay al pi atzmo. And says no, it was a muad, and that's what he has to pay al pi atzmo because it's nezek shalem. Okay, aval betam, what's alacha if it was a tam? Eno meshalem al pi atzmo. At the tani seifa, when you told me the seifa that avdo shel ploni, that it killed the eved of ploni, that he doesn't have to pay al pi atzmo. And he flowed me into the bidah. Why didn't you just say that? Man, when you mean muad, but if it's going to be a tam, eno meshalem al pi atzmo. So the answer is like kula bemuad kama. No, we're only talking about muad in this case. Betashema, we're learning also in a brayta. Zeh klal is a general rule. Anytime that you damage more than what that means anytime that you're going to come and pay more than what you damaged, you don't pay a piatzmo. But if it's less than that, you are going to pay mishalem a piatzmo. Sometimes there's knas. Knas is a penalty. Penalty, you pay more than what you damage. So it says the Gemara, don't say that it's going to be less. If you're paying the exact amount, mishalem a piatzmo. What about if it's less? You're not going to pay less. Right, you're not going to pay according to your own admittance. So you should have just said anytime that you're not going to pay that which you damage, you're not going to pay al pi atzmo. It's mashma if it's less, you are. Tiyufta, that's a good question. What is halacha? Hal ganiska knasa, that it's a knas. That's yufta v'yilchata says I don't understand you. You just asked the question against it. Tiyufta is a refutation. You just asked the question against it, and now you're going to tell me that that's halacha? Doesn't make sense. And says yes, in what was the reason why, right, it went against it? Because we didn't use the terminology that which you damaged. Right? He didn't want to say it that way. Because there's a concept of chetzi nezek tzrorot. We know that chetzi nezek tzrorot means that if he comes and he starts shooting out with his legs, small, sometimes they walk, and from their legs they come out small stones. So that is called chetzi nezek tzorot. You'll need to pay chetzi nezek. The Hilchat Gemina le'demamon, because we know that there it's mamon, it's money, because that's a toladav regel that comes from the feet. Mishum hachi lo kani, therefore we didn't learn. But now that we just said that palganis, right, that half of the nezek is a knas. Hai kalba de'achal imra. When you have a dog, right, that he went and he killed a sheep and he ate it. The shumra de'achil tarnegol ravrave. Or you have a chatul. A chatul is what's the chatul? A cat. Right. That he comes and he eats a tarnegol, a big tarnegol, and he ate it. Mishunehi. This is considered, right, nezek a keren, right, and therefore he has to pay back chetzi nezek, which is kras. But we do not collect in Bavel because there we don't have dayanim smuchim, which means we don't have the dayanim which have semicha going down right from in tradition. Aval zutre Right? But if they're small ones, orchiu, that's normal. And therefore we do collect it even in Babel. The itapas. Now, if you're going to tell me that he already grabbed it, he grabbed the money, lo mafkinu, we don't take it away from him. The aman, if he said, I want to have a deen in Eretz Yisrael, we give him a court case in Eretz Yisrael. If he doesn't go, we give him nidui. Right? But nevertheless, we're always going to give him nidui. Meaning, I don't care if he's not going to go to Eretz Yisrael or any place. If they come and they if they come and they give you a subpoena that you have to come to the Bedin and you don't go, they're going to give you a mishamtin. They're going to give you nidui. They're going to tell them salik zeka. Right? What does that mean? Take away your dog or your chatul, which is damaging. Right? From Yonatan. The time was going to write that Rabbi Natan Omer, how do we know that a person should not grow up a bad dog in his house? And he shouldn't put also a bad ladders in his house. Don't have blood in your house. So if you're going to have a ladder which is broken and somebody's going to come in and fall, or you're going to have a bad dog that he could come and bite someone and kill someone, so that's going to be negative. So therefore, that's lo tasim davim v'techa. Don't place the blood in your house, and therefore hadran alach elu ne'arot. And with this, we finish the perek and elu ne'arot perek shlishi.